Chapter 8. Before we start, smash subscribe and like and share to see more content like this. The Fibonacci Secret. This chapter is extremely dear to my heart because knowledge of the Fibonaccis saved my financial life. You have no idea how many times I wanted to throw in the towel because I couldn't figure out how the market works. Every new trader has dreams, and those dreams can quickly turn into nightmares when you don't know what you are doing, which is why I am so adamant about finding a mentor. I didn't have a mentor, and my dreams quickly turned into nightmares. The name Leonardo Fibonacci was airmailed to me straight from heaven. The understanding of his discoveries changed not only my trading career but also my life. What he discovered between the late 1100s and early 1200s explains how nature takes its course and proves that we are created in a numerical sequence, just like pine cones and pineapples. His discoveries also prove that the market is not this mysterious chaotic place that most people fear. It is a place where organized chaos exists, a dynamic system that is extremely sensitive to the human condition, the ebb and flow, the yin and yang, the action and reaction, the ups and downs of life. The Fibonacci numerical sequence is the ultimate display in the market of matter and energy and their interactions with each other. When I heard about the Fibonacci numbers, back in the early 1990s, no one seemed to know anything about them. So I called my trading data provider, figuring that if anyone would know about the Fibonacci numerical sequence and how to trade it, they would. After all, they provide market data to more than 200,000 traders worldwide. To my surprise, the customer service representative had never heard of Fibonacci and suggested I talk to their programmer. Fortunately, he had heard of the Fibonacci retracement levels and asked if I wanted them programmed into the software. I was like a kid in a candy store getting free candy screaming, yes. As life goes, if it sounds too good to be true, it usually is. The next day, the programmer called telling me the Fibonacci retracement numbers were installed into the software. I told him, thanks a lot. Now can you show me how to use them in a trade? He was quick to respond, no, I am just a programmer, not a trader. I felt like I was ready to throw up from eating too much false hope candy from the candy store. I once again sat in disbelief that I was no better off today than yesterday and back at square one. Things turn out best for those people who make the best of how things turn out. I figured that once I had the Fibonacci levels installed, I just needed to learn how to trade them. It looked like it was going to take a bit more effort than I initially anticipated. So I started asking everyone I knew about the Fibonaccis again. A friend of mine told me about a new book by Larry Pesavento, Fibonacci Numbers with Pattern Recognition, which I raced out to buy. As time went on, I established a cordial working relationship with Larry and soon recognized some fundamental differences in how the Fibonacci should be traded in the market. You can always tell who is the more experienced in any conversation. After everything is said and done, the wiser will always take the positions that they would rather be happy than right. So as we engaged in healthy discussion on how the Fibonacci should be traded, Larry would always say, Jared, if that way works for you, then I am happy for you and you need to keep doing that. Learning how to trade the Fibonacci retracement and extension numbers like I do today started to make my life wonderful and successful. It became the main life preserver in my trading career as I moved forward. The history of Fibonacci. Leonardo Deposite Fibonacci was born in 1170 in Italy and educated in North Africa, where his father, Guglielmo, held a diplomatic post. His father's job was to represent the merchants of the Republic of Pisa who were trading in Bugia, now called Bijaya. Bijaya is a Mediterranean port in northeastern Algeria, and Leonardo traveled with him, learning about math during his father's stay there. Little by little, he began to recognize the enormous advantages of the mathematical systems of the countries they were visiting versus the Roman numerals he had been taught. One of the mathematical concepts that intrigued Fibonacci was the 9-digit system, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, used by the Indians. Fibonacci's travels ended around 1200, and he returned to his hometown of Pisa. It was there that he started to work with the royal families, introducing the numbers 0 through 9, a 10-digit system. It was there that he also wrote many of his texts, including Liber Abaci in 1202, Practica Geometri in 1220, Flos in 1225, and Liber Quadratorum in 1225. Producing a book during this time was a major task, given there were no typewriters or computers and everything had to be handwritten. For this reason, human civilization has unfortunately lost some of his works on arithmetic, such as D minor Geisa and his commentary on Euclid's Elements. It is interesting to note that after Leonardo introduced 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 to the Roman mathematical scholars, they debated for more than 300 years whether or not the number 0 was of any value. Back in the 13th century, Europe predominantly used Roman numerals for all its mathematical calculations. The problem is that it is virtually impossible to add, subtract, multiply, and divide using Roman numerals. And for that reason, historians could not quantify the wealth of a person. Think about it. How wealthy was King Solomon or King Herod in biblical times? No one knows. No one was able to quantify their wealth using Roman numerals. All we know today, via the Bible, is that they had more money than they needed or could spend. Today we can easily quantify a person's or company's wealth, so we know that Bill Gates is currently worth an estimated $56 billion, down quite a bit from $96 billion prior to September 11, 2001. For those not familiar with Roman numerals, they are I equals 1, V equals 5, X equals 10, L equals 50, C equals 100, D equals 500, and M equals 1000. Fibonacci's claim to fame was the introduction of the numerical arithmetic system we know today, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. One of the most important books Fibonacci wrote was Liber Abaci, which means the book of calculations when translated. It was only after he wrote this book that the Roman numeral system was replaced by the Indians' 9 digits and the Arabic Sephirim, 0. The Fibonacci numerical sequence. Fibonacci was fascinated with numbers, and his claim to fame was the discovery of a numerical sequence. The sum of the previous two numbers will always equal the next number in the sequence, as shown in the following examples. 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. 13 plus 21 is equal to 34. 1 plus 2 is equal to 3. 21 plus 34 is equal to 55. 2 plus 3 is equal to 5. 34 plus 55 is equal to 89. 3 plus 5 is equal to 8. 55 plus 89 is equal to 144. 5 plus 8 is equal to 13. 89 plus 144 is equal to 233. 8 plus 13 is equal to 21. 144 plus 233 is equal to 377 to infinity. The Fibonacci sequence in nature. Since Leonardo's discovery, mathematicians have been fascinated with the relevance of this numerical sequence and ratios to our daily lives. For example, mathematicians discovered the sequence in the breeding of rabbits, see figure 8.1. If you start with one pair the first month, after 2 months you have 2 pairs. After 3 months you have 3 pairs, and this is where it starts to get interesting. You would think that they double each month, but they don't. After the 4th month, you only have 5 pairs. They multiply in the Fibonacci sequence. Figure 8.1 Fibonacci sequence in the animal kingdom. Sequences in nature. Rabbits breed in numerical sequence. What is terrifying is if rabbits were left alone to multiply in this sequence and keep going for only 100 months, the total number of pairs would be 354 quintillion 224 quadrillion 848 trillion 179 billion 261 million 915,075. Figures 8.2 to 8.5 show how the Fibonacci numerical sequence plays out in nature. The Fibonacci sequence exists in other areas of our lives, too. For example, look at the piano. The piano of today took more than 300 years to perfect. Yet the actual construction of the piano, including its quantity of keys, has not changed since that time. See figure 8.6. When the conditions of life are so closely linked to nature, not much is left to human control. Believe it or not, the Fibonacci series of numbers is a lot more than just a source of amusement. Watch what happens when you start dividing the numbers. Take any 3 numbers in the numerical sequence after the first 7 sets of numbers. Start dividing them and watch what happens. For example, let us take 144 plus 233 is equal to 377. If you divide the sum 377 by the first number of the sequence, 144, you will get a ratio of 2.618. If you divide 233 by 144, it will equal a ratio of 1.618. If you divide 144 by 233, it will equal a ratio of 0.618. If you divide 144 by 377, it will equal a ratio of 0.382. It doesn't matter which numbers in the sequence you divide with each other, you will still come out to the Fibonacci ratios listed above. One interesting aspect of the summation progression is that it doesn't matter where you start. Take any two numbers, like 5 and 100, and you will see the same aspects in series. 5 plus 100 is equal to 105, 100 plus 105 is equal to 205, 105 plus 205 is equal to 310, 205 plus 310 is equal to 515, 310 plus 515 is equal to 825, 515 plus 825 is equal to 1340, 825 plus 1340 is equal to 2165, and so forth. Now, start to divide these numbers and you will find the same ratios. 825 divided by 1340 is equal to 0.616, which is close to 0.618. 1340 divided by 2165 is equal to 0.618. 2165 divided by 1340 is equal to 1.616, which is close to 1.618. 3140 divided by 825 is equal to 1.624, which is close to 1.618. 825 divided by 2165 is equal to 0.381, which is close to 0.382. I show you these examples in the hope of turning you into a believer. After all, you need to believe in the Fibonacci numbers as you trade. There are 6 sets of numbers that you need to know. They are 0.382, 0.50, 0.618, 0.786, 1.27, 1.618. You are probably thinking, where do 0.50, 0.786, and 1.27 come from? The 0.50 comes from taking the sum of the 3 numbers and dividing them by 2. The 0.786 comes from the square root of 0.618, and the 1.27 comes from the square root of 1.618. All of these numbers are important in the market and relevant to our daily lives. One of the reasons the pyramids in Egypt have stood the test of time is that the height of the pyramid divided by the length of the pyramid equals a Fibonacci number of 0.618, see figure 8.7. Have you ever experienced goosebumps when you listen to music? Scientists have been able to prove that the reason you get those goosebumps is that 2 or more keys are being played and they vibrate in a Fibonacci numerical ratio sequence, see figure 8.8. See how key C vibrates at 264 vibrations per second and key A vibrates at 427 vibrations per second. When you divide the vibrations of the key of C at 264 vibrations per second by the vibrations of the key of A at 427 vibrations per second, you get a Fibonacci ratio of 0.618. The amazing fact about the composition of the human body is that it, too, is based on Fibonacci ratios. Don't believe it? Go grab a measuring tape and a calculator, because I am going to make a believer out of you. First, measure your height in inches. For example, let's say you are 5 feet 10 inches, which is 70 inches. Take 70 inches and multiply it by 0.618 using your calculator. You should get 43.26 inches. Take your measuring tape and start at the ground moving up. At 43.26 inches, you will find your belly button. Take the distance from the top of your head to your belly button and multiply it by 1.618. That will be the distance from your belly button to the bottom of your feet, see figure 8.9. The human face. Knowledge of Fibonacci ratios and rectangles goes back to the Greeks, who based their most famous work of art on them. The Parthenon is full of golden rectangles. Fibonacci studied the Greek mathematical ratios and through his discoveries standardized these ratios, which later were commonly referred to as Fibonacci ratios. Followers of the Greek mathematician Pythagoras thought of the Fibonacci ratio as divine. And even today, the Fibonacci ratio is in human-made objects all around us. Look at almost any Christian cross, the ratio of the vertical part to the horizontal is 0.618. Despite these numerous appearances in works of art throughout the ages, there is an ongoing debate among psychologists about whether people really do perceive the golden shapes, which are objects that are visually balanced in a Fibonacci numerical sequence or ratio, particularly the golden rectangle, as more beautiful than other shapes. In a 1995 article in the journal Perception, Professor Christopher Green of York University in Toronto, Canada, discusses several experiments that have shown no measurable preference for the golden rectangle, but notes that several others have provided evidence suggesting that such a preference exists. Regardless of the science, the golden ratio, Fibonacci ratio, retains a mystery, partly because approximations of it turned up unexpectedly in nature. The Discovery Channel had a televised special, Fibonacci's in the Face, which was about a plastic surgeon who creates a face on computer using only Fibonacci ratios to place the eyes, eyebrows, ears, nose, mouth, and cheeks on the face. When he is done, he hits the print button and a mold of a beautiful face appears. He then takes several model magazines and scans the faces of males and females alike, people we think of as beautiful. After he does that, he places the mold he created over the mold of the models, and it fits perfectly. He then scans pictures of scary-looking people, such as those in horror movies, and creates molds of their faces. But when he places the mold he created over the mold of their ugly faces, it doesn't fit. The eyes are off-center, the nose is off-center, the cheekbones are too high or too low, and what he concludes is that the human eyes and mind use numbers to determine beauty. If the numbers are in a Fibonacci numerical sequence, we consider that person to be beautiful. If they are not, we consider them to be ugly. Figure 810 shows how some of the facial features are at Fibonacci numbers. The Fibonacci retracement and extension ratio relationship. The reason I have gone into such depth explaining the Fibonacci numbers is to provide you with a fundamental belief that they exist. They are real. But it is only when you understand and recognize the value of these numbers in your life that you will be able to believe and apply them in the financial markets with confidence. Each ratio needs to be divided into two categories, a retracement number and an extension number. The following identifies which numbers are in which category. Retracement numbers 0.382, 0.50, 0.618, 0.786. Extension numbers 1.618, 1.27. In an uptrend, the market is making higher highs and higher lows, and in a downtrend, the market is making lower lows and lower highs. The wave movements in both uptrends and downtrends move in an A, B, C, D formation. In an uptrend, the low or start of the rally is considered an A. After the rally tops out or the move comes to an end, that high is considered a B. As the market begins to retrace back inside the AB boundary, the end of the retracement low is considered a C, and the new rally, which rallies higher than the B and tops out, is called the D extension. In summary, as the market moves up, it moves in an up A, B, C, D sequence, the initial rally followed by a retracement, which again is followed by a new rally to the D extension. In the up A, B, C, D sequence, after the B high is formed, the market retraces back down into the AB boundary, where the bulls and bears fight for control. The Fibonacci retracement levels act as future hidden levels of support. If the uptrend stays in place, it will be at one of these levels that the market will bounce back up. Many times that bounce back up will be near an uptrend line or a past level of resistance. If it does bounce there, that is called bouncing at a convergence. As seen in figure 811, the starting point A acts as point 0, and B acts as the end of the move. The move from A to B is considered 100%, or equals 100% of the initial move. As the market retraces, if it U-turns or bounces back up at the 0.382, it means the market has come back 38% or 38 pips if the original AB move were 100 pips. If it retraces back to the 0.50, which is the halfway point, then it equals a 50 pip retracement if the initial move were 100 pips, and so on. After the market bounces at a Fibonacci retracement number, U-turns, and rallies to the D extension number like the 1.27 level, it has moved 27% above the original AB move, or a total of 127% of the initial move. If it rallies to the 1.618, it has moved 62% above the original AB move, or a total of 162% of the original AB move, see figure 811. As the saying goes, tell me where the market has been, and I will tell you where it is going to go. Should the market bounce at the 0.382, 0.50, or 0.618, it will predominantly rally and go to a 1.618 extension, which is considered D. If it retraces all the way down to the 0.786, it will only go to the 1.27 extension, as seen in figure 812. The opposite takes place in a downtrend. If you are spatially challenged, imagine everything upside down. In figures 813 and 8-14, you can see that in a downtrend, the retracement ratios are potential hidden levels of resistance and the extensions are hidden levels of support. Believe it or not, some trading programs do not have all the Fibonacci retracement levels and extensions. The MTI 4.0 trading software has the Fibonacci tool that becomes critical in analyzing your trade. As you use the Fibonacci trading tool in your trading software, always start by connecting the A to the B to find the retracement and extension ratio numbers. The settings in your software will automatically find the retracement and extension levels for you. In an uptrend, use your Fibonacci tool to connect point A and point B and find the retracement levels of support and the extension levels of resistance, as seen in figure 811 and 8-12. In a downtrend, use your Fibonacci tools to connect point A and point B to find your retracement levels of resistance, as well as your extension levels of support, as seen in figures 813 and 8-14. When we discussed trend lines, I pointed out that the market moves at different speeds, forming inner and outer trend lines, just like cars move at different speeds in a neighborhood versus on the freeway. Now I am going to explain why. The speed of the market is usually dependent on where the U-turn is in the retracement, or at what Fibonacci retracement level the market bounced, see figure 815. These rules apply to the movement in an uptrend as well as a downtrend. The 0.382/1.618 ratio relationship. In an uptrend, as seen in figure 815, when the market only retraces back to a 0.382, U-turns, and rallies, it is on the move. It is like a car traveling on a freeway, a sign of volatility and rapid movement. After the bounce, it will then usually rally beyond the 1.618 extension by about 15 to 20% before it bounces back down. In a downtrend, when the market only retraces back to a 0.382, U-turns, and dips, it, too, is on the move. It is also like a car traveling on a freeway and is a sign of volatility and rapid falling movement. After it bounces at the 0.382, it will then usually dip beyond the 1.618 extension by about 15 to 20% before it bounces back up. The 0.50/1.618 ratio relationship. In an uptrend, as seen in figure 815, when the market retraces back to the 0.50, U-turns, and rallies back up, it is slowing down a bit but is still on the move. It is like a car traveling 45 miles per hour in a business district. After the bounce, it will then usually rally to the 1.618 extension before it bounces back down. In a downtrend, when the market retraces back to the 0.50, U-turns, and begins to dip, it, too, is slowing down a bit but is still on the move. It will usually dip to the 1.618 extension before it bounces back up. The 0.618/1.618 ratio relationship. In an uptrend, as seen in figure 815, when the market retraces back to the 0.618, U-turns, and bounces back up, it is slowing down. It is like a car traveling 35 miles per hour in a congested business district. After the bounce, it will then usually rally to the 1.618 extension before it bounces back down. Because it is slowing down, it may even bounce at the 1.27 level of resistance first, creating a small A, B, C, D, between the C, D. In a downtrend, when the market retraces back to the 0.618, U-turns, and dips, it, too, is slowing down. It may bounce at the 1.27 extension of support first on its way to the 1.618 extension. When it hits the 1.618 extension of support, it will probably bounce back up. The 0.786/1.27 ratio relationship. In an uptrend, as seen in Figure 8.15, when the market retraces back to the 0.786, U-turns, and bounces back up, it is really slowing down. The car has now entered into the neighborhood traveling at 25 miles per hour. After the bounce, it will only rally to the 1.27 extension before it bounces back down. Because it is slowing down, it may first create a small A, B, C, D wave between the C, D. In a downtrend, when the market retraces back to the 0.786, U-turns, and dips, it, too, is slowing down, like a car traveling at 25 miles per hour. Because it is slowing down, it may first create a small A, B, C, D wave between the C, D after the bounce. It will only dip to the 1.27 extension of support before it bounces back up. Small A, B, C, Ds form inside C, Ds. Now that we know that the market moves at different speeds, we need to look a little deeper into that movement. If the distance between a C and a potential D is substantial, and there are no fundamental announcements, the market often forms small A, B, C, Ds between the C, D. This is important to recognize because most traders are very impatient and want instant gratification. If a trader has entered the market long or buying, every time the market begins to retrace or dip, the trader starts to panic and is tempted to exit. A good habit to get into is to envision the market movement before you execute the trade. Draw out how you envision the future wave will be. Try to figure out the amount of time you will need to be in that trade. Then decide to be a scalper, a day trader, or a long-term trader before you enter the market. This will keep you from getting frustrated and emotional as you trade. You must never forget the ebb and flow of the markets and that these markets wave. It is a natural wave. Very seldom will they race to your target, regardless of how much you want them to or how little time you have set aside for trading. The market moves at its own pace, not ours. The value of adding the Fibonacci numbers to your toolbox. Let's put everything you have learned so far together to increase your percentage of finding a winning trade. The natural law of the Fibonacci numerical sequence is not capricious, it works on every time frame and in every market. It is just as valid in the Forex as it is in the stock or commodity markets. As a matter of fact, anywhere you can pull up a financial chart, on any time frame, you will see the Fibonacci's in action. I will never forget one class I taught in Sydney, Australia, when I met an older gentleman named John, who introduced himself to the class by stating, "I have come to take your course because 3 years ago, I bought $250,000 worth of Qantas stock at $2 a share. I told myself when it hits $5 a share, I'm selling." He proceeded, saying, that hashtag stock went to $4.90 a share. Looked at all my sell orders, laughed in my face, then U-turned and is now back around $2 a share. I came here to figure out what happened and why I was so greedy and didn't sell at $4.90 a share. That was my retirement money. This reminded me of a saying my dear friend and mentor Fred Gronbacher taught me. It goes something like this: the ignorant must suffer. I told John and the class, after I teach you how the markets work, on the last day of the class, we will pull up a chart and look at Qantas stock. Mark my words, and write this down right now. Everyone grabbed a piece of paper and started writing. On Saturday, when we pull up the chart, at $4.90 there will be a bearish candlestick formation at a D Fibonacci extension level followed by an uptrend line break. The reversal will create a bearish king's crown, and the market will begin to make down A, B, C, D all the way down to $2 a share. I would have showed all of them at that moment what I was talking about, but it would have been of no value until they finished the course. After class on the third day, we pulled up a Qantas chart and, sure enough, right before everyone's eyes was one of the most beautiful evening stars at a D Fibonacci extension level. This was followed by an uptrend line break, a bearish king's crown, and down A, B, C, Ds. John jumped up out of his seat as he was sitting on the first row and, in front of 45 people, grabbed me, gave me a bear hug, and kissed me on my cheek. The class began to laugh, but as John pulled away, he looked at me with a tear in his eye, whispering, "Thank you, Chief." It has been from countless moments like these, shared by great people like John, that I have found my true destiny in life. I have learned we make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give. Conclusion. Knowing where to get into the market and where to get out, and why, is about as close to the holy grail that you'll ever get. Understanding that nature exists in the market, and how it works, places the trader at a huge advantage. It allows a trader to wait for the retracement bounce at a pre-projected retracement number, having the market move in their direction from entry, which is every trader's dream, then writing it to the pre-projected corresponding Fibonacci extension. As you read the step-by-step rules of trading a trend, try to envision the movement of the market and the trading process. This methodology works on all time frames and in all markets. In life, the more we try to avoid financial suffering or any kind of suffering, the more we suffer, because what we think is mysterious many times is nothing more than simple knowledge that needs to be understood. You need to learn to become financially empowered instead of financially vulnerable. Nothing I teach is to be feared, only understood. Have the courage to become empowered in Forex, only then will you be successful in trading Forex. Steps to be followed when trading an uptrend. 1. Draw all uptrend lines and downtrend lines, inner, outer, and long term. This will help to determine if the market is in an uptrend, downtrend, or if a trend line has been broken, signifying the potential end of a trend or a reversal. 2. Find the latest upward A, B and use the Fibonacci tool on your trading software to draw the Fibonacci retracement and extension lines. 3. Find a C buy entry at a convergence, such as a Fibonacci retracement level, upward trend line, morning star, tweezer bottom, or bullish engulfing candle. 4. Find the projected Fibonacci D extension, as well as 4 levels of past resistance. Find the closest level of resistance to the Fibonacci extension. Place a limit exit order 10 pips in front of, or before it hits, either the Fibonacci extension or the level of resistance. Remember, when the bulls score a point, it always pulls back. 5. Look at your potential financial risk with your protective stop-loss order. If you can't afford the potential loss should the trade not work out, then stay out and do not trade. 6. Pull out your trader's checklist that you have created or the one supplied by Market Traders Institute. Create a trading plan and trade your plan. Steps to be followed when trading a downtrend. 1. Draw all uptrend lines and downtrend lines, inner, outer, and long term. This will help to determine if the market is in an uptrend, downtrend, or if a trend line has been broken, signifying the potential end of a trend or a reversal. 2. Find the latest downward A, B. Use the Fibonacci tool on your trading software to draw the Fibonacci retracement and extension lines. 3. Find a C sell entry at a convergence, such as a Fibonacci retracement level, downward trend line, evening star, tweezer top, or bearish engulfing candle. 4. Find the projected Fibonacci D extension, as well as 4 levels of past support. Find the closest level of support to the Fibonacci extension. Place a limit exit order 10 pips in front of, or before it hits, either the Fibonacci extension or level of support. Remember, when the bears score a point, it always pulls back. 5. Look at your potential financial risk with your protective stop-loss order. If you can't afford the potential loss should the trade not work out, then stay out and do not trade. 6. Pull out your trader's checklist that you have created or the one supplied by Market Traders Institute. Create a trading plan and trade your plan. Fibonacci numbers are really significant and play a big part in our lives. Learning the Fibonacci numerical sequence and trading ratios adds a very important tool to your trader's toolbox. Many traders fail because they are too busy trying to tell the market what to do. Do not try to tell the market what to do. That is like telling the rapids to step aside because you want to leisurely swim upstream. It is not going to happen. Learn how to read the markets. Let it tell you what it is going to do and then go with it. There is a reality as you trade, and you need to accept the fact that you cannot make money 100% of the time in the market, even with the knowledge of the Fibonaccis. But you can execute your trades 100% of the time using productive trading rules and become a winning trader, even by only winning 50% of the time, provided you maintain the right equity management. Don't forget to smash subscribe and like and share to see more content like this. See you next chapter. Much love.